Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Modern Stone Age. This video is going to be slightly different. As you can see, we're not in the shop today, but we are at home, and I just have been messing around with the 3D printing technology. Wanted to talk a little bit about it and how it's actually very similar to what we do in stonework as far as setup and kind of like results and finishing. So I'm fairly new to the whole 3D printing thing. This is my first printer. This is the Anycubic Mega X, and it's run extremely well from what I understand. And I actually just bought a second one that I'm going to put right next to it here on the table and have two of them running. So when I first got this as a gift, as a birthday present, and I was very interested in the whole technology to begin with. I wanted to see exactly what it could do, how clean the parts were, and just there was a whole lot of learning going on right away with the different filament types. So PLA versus ABS versus they've got wood filler and nylon and carbon fiber nylon and other things like that that you can use. So like what are the differences there and why use them, different material types, right? So I was kind of surprised pulling this thing out of the box. It's only really three pieces that you put together and plug the wires in, and you're pretty much good to go. So extremely easy to use out of the box. And to begin with, I thought to myself, well, a lot of people are using it to print miniatures and minis and things like that, as well as terrain. And then it got into, I was looking at like kitchen gadgets, pizza cutters, chip clips, all these little trinket things that you could use in the kitchen, a little garlic press and things like that. Then it got more into the garden, and as far as like planting pots to build, and hose clamps, hose hang-up hooks for the garage, hang-up tools, things like that. And then it got into gears and hinges, and I downloaded like 20 different hinges and all these different files. And so I just started kind of building a little bit of a library of things to use these for. And looked into the whole, do I want to do it and sell the stuff online, whether it's like on a online place like Etsy or eBay or something like that, and decided to kind of not do that for the beginning. I'm just going to see where this takes me as far as things for myself. One of the things I ended up making was a series of fishing lures, and I made 7 of them right away, including 2 like wasp hornet looking ones that were really good. I took it up to the cabin, went fishing. I caught a bass off the dock as we were loading the boat to go out fishing. So I ended up pulling in a few fish with the big wasp, and I printed like a submarine one, and then this other one that had kind of hinges built into it. That one didn't really work out as great as I thought. But so it's just, different things to use. So at first I wasn't sure exactly what it would do for me, but having a toy or a machine that produces other toys or machines is pretty awesome. And now finally I'm thinking to myself, well, I bet you I can design a small patch. I was out to dinner at a restaurant, and I came outside and somebody had put a nice hole in my bumper and took off, right, without a note or anything. Unfortunately, the restaurant didn't have a camera in the parking lot facing that direction to see what happened or anything. So I'm stuck with a hole in my bumper that I either got to pay for, or I tried to talk to insurance, and they made me download some app and fill out this thing, and they're only going to cover a certain portion of what it's going to be to replace it. And so I'm just thinking, can I produce and design some sort of patch, print it out, and then go install, like essentially glue it or adhere it into that hole of the bumper, and then use like a plastic patch or plastic, like a rubber membrane kind of a thing, to put that in, smooth it out, and then essentially paint over and repair the bumper with a little piece of plastic off the printer. So there's all sorts of different applications for these machines, which is when I started realizing these things is why I bought another one, because what they don't really tell you is how slow these prints are. And so I've found the right combination of what I want to print, being zero point 0.1 or 0.08 millimeter height. I print it at 210 degrees for the PLA, and the bed I keep at about 38, I believe, or 40. And then, depending on if I'm using supports or not. And I have looked at a couple of different slicers too. I think Cura is actually the best. And that I found a version of Cura on the memory card that came with this printer as well. So I guess it's recommended that they are used together, which just happened to be what I went with anyway. So that all kind of worked out. It's been pretty interesting, fun to play with, and I've now printed out like cups, like fishing lures, minis, mini environments, and all sorts of little things with it. Right now we're working on a roadblock, essentially a tank roadblock with 3 pieces attached to it that they use. It's more of like a mini environment thing for 28 millimeter, whether you're playing like bolt action or the Conflict 47. Those ones are pretty cool. Of course, like old Warhammer and all that stuff back in the day, the Fantasy, which is the one I was into. That doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. And then they were talking 40K and all that. I never really got into that one, just because I was a child with no money. So, yeah, it's been very interesting on 3D printing. I'm definitely recommending it to people. You got to understand that the print times take a little longer when you're doing more detailed things. The thinner the layers that go together, the stronger the object as well. If you're trying to make a hook, a bracket, or a hinge kind of a thing, you want to spend the time on printing something that is not just going to break, right? I built a small catapult and some model kits, essentially flat model kit that you would cut out the pieces and then put the model together. And the moment I tried the catapult, I just immediately broke it. So that one was too bad. But I had to fix the infill from 25% to 100% to make it a solid object, and that helped it on the second print make that work. So again, there's a big learning curve here, trying to figure things out and all that. But so yeah, I just wanted to talk about that kind of technology, laying things down now that we can 3D print not just plastics, but metal and wood, and now there's big 3D printers that print in concrete, and people are making, tiny homes and 2-bedroom homes with a printer over the course of maybe 3-4 days. Building a home, it's much faster, depending on whether you think wood is a renewable resource or not. It's arguably more environmentally friendly. I know concrete is not very environmentally friendly if you're talking about the carbon and what people refer to as the climate change, the greenhouse gases that produce climate change. So it just depends on what kind of materials you want to use, right? But the 3D printing concrete is extremely interesting to me, and I think that might be essentially the wave of the future, to just get some trucks delivered and have a printer on site and just keep the thing fed, and over the course of a week maybe you have a nice house. You just got to put a roof on and you know, do up the inside as far as the sheetrock and maybe some studs and framing and things like that to actually frame in the inside. But as far as the outside goes, I think you can probably put moisture resistant layer and then just masonry right on it. Whether you want to use brick or stone or even siding, I think could possibly work there too. So it is a little bit the wave of the future as far as construction. And in this technology right now, I'd say we're probably 65% of the way to where we really need to be to manufacture at home. I know there's all sorts of laser engravers out there now and other things I've been looking at to, again, do the post-processing and finishing of the objects. So that's going to kind of tie it up other than the cost of these things. So this is not a resin printer. This is a filament printer, taking the spool of plastic and melting it down and printing out things. These ones are much cheaper. I think this one was like $300, or $400, something like that. And they used to be a couple of thousand. When I was first looking at them, they were like $3,000 for a printer like this. So to have come down so much and actually be better in the software and hardware is a huge advantage. And the resin printers, if you're trying to do minis, I would suggest the resin printer because they are cleaner prints, smoother and cleaner, but the machine's more expensive, the resin's more expensive, and so you're going to have to deal with those kind of trade-offs. So we'll just wrap it up there, and until the next one, have a good day.